Oop, oop. There you go. Yes. Hello and welcome to Startups in Real Life. We are in the final episode of a 10 weeks discussion with Rae Hames talking about all things startup. So we're going to just jump right into it. Rae and I talked about the episode and we were trying to decide what we should do. And we thought, let's just recap and talk about lessons learned and things like that. So I'd like to first start, just how you doing, Rae?
I'm doing pretty well. I know that we've taken a couple weeks pause in this back end of the summer, and I've been weirdly eager to kind of do this final, it's a cherry on the cake episode to say, we went through this series and I think it's been a really exciting thing for us to document in this way, and so I'm just excited to kind of chat today and share about where we're at and what we've learned.
Yeah, I am too. And, most of that was on me. So first I was on vacation, the official vacation, and then I was in denial that my children hadn't started school yet. So I thought, oh, I can do both. And, sometimes you just got to call it.
Got to do well at one of them.
And I did really well. I mean, me and my 3-year-old have like a whole new connection, this whole one-on-one time for a week and a half. So anyway, it's nice to be back, but I didn't want to do this last episode like distracted and having her in the background. So thank you for being patient. Here we are. So so we talked a lot over the last 20 sessions, I think, about, messaging, positioning, funding, MVPs, POCs, how to launch, when to launch, freelance landscapes, websites, marketing, sales, and, it goes on and on and on. But 3 months into the launch of the company, and in this final episode, why don't you, do you want to start with what have you learned? Where, looking back at the episode that started in May, are there high level reflections, that you want to start with? And then we can go into even some more details.
Yeah. I think the biggest piece, as I've been thinking about this over the past few days, like the biggest thing I've learned is like, you can really never start too soon. There's a saying that's always running in my head that says, if you're proud of what you launched with, you launched too late. And it's something that clicks in my head a lot. I think that as we've been getting things off the ground, we've had a lot of things that we've been moving really quickly on. We threw up a placeholder website. We've had to make some really hard decisions around product functionality that's going to be available now versus like as we build it with beta customers. I've revamped my pitch materials like so many times I've lost count. But it's just true that what you start with is not going to be what you finish with. And it's been so important for us to find ways to say, okay, this is good enough for now, and put things out into the world, which I just think is real as a like attempting to recover perfectionist. Like that is a really hard lesson to learn. But you can't learn and grow until you start getting reactions from outside your bubble. And so, I think that that's been something that, again, the sooner you start getting feedback, the faster you can grow and optimize. So I think that's probably the biggest reflection for me. And that comes out in a couple different ways. And I think that the other piece, like we knew what we were getting into as we started this up. And I was listening to that first episode this morning, and it made me laugh about, we're starting with a bank account of 0. And that is true, like the level of sacrifice and patience that this route takes is significant. And, none of us are drawing a salary right now. We're living off of savings. And it's a genuinely like privileged position to be able to do that, in the first place. But it's also a real psychological challenge to adapt to a totally different financial reality than having a regular job. And I know this won't be like this for much longer, but it's something that I think that anybody who's considering taking a leap into the startup land, like really think through how they're going to manage it. And do they have enough, savings or cushion or secondary income streams that they're going to be all right for a while, And so I think that has colored probably all of our day-to-day experiences. And like the other kind of, this is like a warm and fuzzy last reflection, but I really think it really comes down to like who you work with makes all the difference. It's been there's been so much, it's been hard, it's been challenging, but there's just like macro good and like interesting things that have come out of the past few months together. But I think that for me, coming to work every day with people that you really enjoy, I can't imagine doing it with anybody else. And I also think that it gives us a level of motivation to make this work for each other, as much as we want to make it work for ourselves, for our customers, for everybody involved. But I think that having a team that I really like deeply care about is super motivating on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, and it's mutual. I think for me, this starting this series, I mean, I just kind of like threw us both into the swimming pool.
Yep.
And, and I was like, we'll figure it out as we do it. I think has been incredibly rewarding, and just watching, us both get more comfortable in front of the camera. And, there was that one episode where you stood me up. Never forget that one. I mean, that was a good one. I'm sitting there in San Diego.
I'm here by myself and I'm gonna jazz hands
in the Starbucks parking lot. Okay, here I'm going to talk to myself for 10 minutes. But no, I think it's been great. And yeah, looking at like the first to now, and just how comfortable, we are with what we communicate, how we communicate, things like that, I think has changed dramatically. And it just makes me excited about the future and preparing us for talking with external investors and, all of it. I think it's been really great.
Totally. If we can't talk about it, who else will?
Yeah. Nobody. Well, no, until, that it'll be great when that even continues, or it goes forward, where we have champions. So what might you do differently now in hindsight? Would you prioritize things differently than you did? Because it's always looking back that it's like, oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
Like, that's for real. Yeah, when we first started getting things moving, I did a bunch of customer research and interviews to really understand how they were using freelance teams, to kind of figure out if we're building something that's going to loosely, is this going to help? Would you be interested? But I think in hindsight, I would just run those calls a little more systematically. I think that I had really great conversations. We learned a lot that kind of informed. It's every bit you're informing what you're doing next. But I think that where we are now, we've gotten a lot crisper on understanding what type of customers we want to go after, who within those organizations we should be speaking to. And the next step is really just another round of research calls, right? And doing a couple more sessions that will probably be more meaningful now that we have a product demo to share as well. But I think that I've learned a lot about just conducting customer research in the first place that I would have now I can apply more efficiently. And I think that the second piece, it's not necessarily about doing differently as just doing sooner, but I think that we're just like right now, we're just starting to talk to a handful of investors. And the hardest part of this process for me has been getting introductions to the right people. And I think that to be really successful at fundraising, you have to start laying tracks and building relationships years ahead of time. It's just a manual, slow-moving process that we're going through now to research investors, check out their history on Crunchbase, figure out where your connections are via Signal or LinkedIn, and try to find ways to get your foot in the door that's, a step beyond just submitting your pitch deck on their website. And I think that now, I'm starting to build some relationships. I think that this will pay off down the line. But if I had started doing really early reach outs back in May, and been maybe a little less precious about what our message was, it would have been totally fine for me to say, hey, my name's Rae. I'm starting to work on this, new company. Here's our general thesis. We're not looking for funding yet. We don't even have a product built currently, but, is this something that you might be interested down the line? And are you interested in following along as we build? That would have been a proactive, more organic on-ramp for me to have conversations with investors. Whereas now, we're just, again, you're always starting from that square one. So conversations are like, well, oh, what are you building? Oh, tell me all about the background, and it's just less organic. And
Mhm.
so I think that for anybody that's in the stage that we were at back in May, like that's what I would advise is
Mhm.
take that, again, maybe a little less precious, more personal outreach approach.
Yeah. 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 And I think, like you said, though, you don't know that until until you're in it.
Yeah.
And, I think, what I think is even when we were back at Sandy, we should have been having those conversations,
Yep.
and then that way, not knowing that we were going to spin this out, but still, like you said, starting to build relations, prior
Yeah.
to anything. So
Yeah.
yeah. So for
Yeah.
those people, like you said, who are kind of at that early stage or even still in
You've just got an
another company,
idea,
yes,
just
start.
find ways to get on people's radar.
Yes.
There's nothing that's going to hurt you for
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I also like the other thing that you've learned that I hadn't even thought of was around talking to some of the portfolio company CEOs, and getting to know people from VCs that are um, potentially of interest. I hadn't really focused on that when I was thinking through how to connect us and you to people.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good insight.
And having a strong network of fellow founders is really important too, and this is, again, it's something that is only going to change organically over time as you're sharing resources, as
Mhm.
you're trying to hire for different roles, as you're looking at companies who are a stage ahead of you that you're trying to model after. It's just a radically different, I mean, it's networking, it is, but
Mhm.
like I think back to my career, the stage of the career that I was in when I was a marketing manager at EA. My sphere of influence and who I was connecting to was radically different than this group that I now am looking to be a more active part of, and again, share resources with. And so I think that it just happens organically over time, but it's really helpful for me. There's two benefits. Is, can I get some intel and introductions
Mhm.
to VCs that we're interested in working with, but also genuinely building a network of fellow CEOs and founders, is going to be something that I think will be really helpful to our growth over time, and certainly, you know, who we all surround ourselves with.
Yeah. Yeah, and also being able to do that without having to do it behind a paywall is also, I think, nice.
Yeah.
I go back to my friend Shaheros, who, started Women 2.0, and how she had this just free flowing community of founders. And it was just so nice to know you could walk in and, be able to easily connect without the pressure of kind of like, okay, I paid to be here, and now we're at this networking event, and so I don't
Yeah,
know, I think she
I'm a
was,
little allergic to that.
she created such an amazing community, and I wish I haven't found those types of pockets again, since then. So yeah, I think that's something that's kind of missing,
Yeah.
or that I haven't found out there. All
Let me
right.
know when you do.
Yeah. Let me know when you do. Um, Anything else that you'd like to share?
I think that, as we were saying, there's like a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda in all of this.
Mhm.
In hindsight, for me, it's important to reflect on the things that can inform doing something better or faster the next time around. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm so focused on putting one foot in front of the other, and executing against the plan that we have. I think that for anybody out there, that it, again, I'm hoping that this is helpful to somebody
Yeah.
somewhere, is, making time for reflections and making time to say, I'm going to sit down and critically think about the feedback that I've heard, or look for the patterns in the last 10 pitch meetings I've had, is really important. And it's part of the process. But it should always be in service of moving forward. And
Mhm.
so, I try to keep that in mind as I go through our days. Um, and I think the other piece is that I just kind of want to voice over, I guess, is just how grateful I am for this experience. I think that the past few months have totally been, there's been highs and lows, there's been really hard days, there's been days that you're gritting your teeth, but it's an incredible education. And I still feel a very, optimistic sense of adventure for all of us on this path. I'm so deeply interested in what we're doing. And like every day I come to work, I get totally in the zone of whatever's ahead of me, and I love that feeling. And I haven't had that feeling. Everybody, you can't be in the zone every day of whatever job you have. But I felt that most days. And I think that that's a really great experience to be able to just pour yourself into something, and I want to be really good at I want to be good at I want to build something that's genuinely useful. I want to be good at running a business. And those kind of things keep me motivated. I think that it is a real challenge. If you look at the statistics, it's a real challenge to get a company like this off the ground. And I have nothing but pride in the fact that like we're doing it day by day.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I look at is like when we're looking for a job or something, we is when we reach out to our networks often, right? And reach. What I've loved about this experience is that outreach that I've done, and just how heartwarming it is that people are responding and supporting, and some people that I never expected to even get a response from, and I think that's. I don't know. It's just, it feels good. It feels like, okay, we're not in this alone. People are, wanting to support, because it's hard, right? It's hard to reach out to someone that maybe you but you don't know personally, but you knew as a colleague, or, and to ask for something, I think that's never been like comfortable for me. And, it has been nice to kind of get the validation that it's okay, and that you're not annoying people.
Yeah.
So I think that's
and
good.
every little yes you hear builds confidence to kind of offset the no's you're going to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's it's really great when you get them.
Yeah. Okay. So last part was just what's next.
Yeah, I'm interested. I want to know what's next for you too. Personally, I've been really surprised at how much fun this Startups IRL experience has been. As I was saying, I think that it's been a really great way to document a very specific moment in time for Teamera. It's been an awesome practice ground for me to refine my thoughts and figure out how to communicate in a real digestible way. Mm-hmm. And I think these conversations have also served as a really great jumping off point for some content that's going to be rolling out across social and web. I think that has been a great jumping off point just for how we think about the business. It's provided a really interesting chat space for all of that. And so next for me is I'm going to be launching my own series called Freelance Frontiers. It's going to be done with an industry friend of mine, Nick Hammond, who is going to come together. It's going to be just once a week. And we're going to be talking about navigating the complexities of working with and as freelancers, kind of both sides of the coin. And the idea is to help people who manage freelancers to create a repeatable framework to hire, brief, and manage people who aren't necessarily part of their 9-to-5 fixed team. It's something mm-hmm. that I have a lot of experience with. I've been a freelance hiring manager in as many capacities as you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And Nick is he's a career freelancer turned freelance coach. And so I think that together we're going to bring some kind of interesting conversation to both freelancers and the people who manage them. And I, have really enjoyed this video format. So we're going to keep that moving.
That's great.
And then on Teamera's end, we are preparing to launch our next version of our website in the next couple of weeks. So that's going to be an exciting kind of new reveal. We've had a placeholder set up for the past few months. So that's going to be exciting for us because then we can start driving traffic to the site. And in parallel, really diving into building our audience on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And then the biggest project on Teamera's side that we're working on right now is launching our closed beta. So we've got a handful of companies that are interested in our participating. and we're trying to close a couple more to kind of fill in this beta group. And then we can really get in there and see how they're using the tools. And it's going to be an exciting and, really informative few, space of time that I think will really help refine how we go to our broader open launch later this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
What's next for you?
It's up for me. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting when we first started this. I thought that this series would just kind of start and end again because I'd done this many years ago, and I loved it. But I thought that this would be just another moment. But I'm starting to think, because you kind of challenged me. You're like, why not keep it going? So yeah, I'm working on some ideas of just bringing in other early founders and just talking with them. I'm not sure of the consistency yet. I think I will still do it live. I enjoy that format and knowing that I can't reverse or edit. I think that's, for me, that works. Yeah, so I will keep you posted as it continues and evolves on that front. And as far as Teamera, yeah, it's just continuing to go through person by person and just reach out and talk to people to see, about, like you said, those, are there other matches that will help us create a commonality in a beta group that really teaches us what we need to learn for this first phase. So that's, I'm heads down figuring that out, figuring Stripe out, figuring, it's these little things, right?
One thing at a time.
Get you. And so it's that's it. But it's not the end of it for you either. I'll be inviting you back.
I will be happy to. I'm going to be the first to like, comment, subscribe on the new version of Startups IRL, however that appears.
I might have to hit you guys up for a logo or something, because if you come out with this like slick thing, I'll be like, hey, what about me?
Yeah, we'll see. Again, don't be too precious with what you launch with.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's been fun, Rae, and I will we'll see you again soon.
Yeah,
on Startups in Real Life.
Yep, sounds great. It's been